whilst she's doing that?
Yeah, can do. Is it? Yeah, anyway, I'm Charlie. I work for the Palace for Life Foundation, also with Neve and Nicole, who I can see her on the chat as well. Hi guys. Yeah, so I'm the girls' primary school officer. So I basically deal with girls in the primary school range, and one of my main tasks is to lead upon and organise different Wildcat centres across the boroughs of Croydon, Sutton and Bromley. We have just recently, during September, opened a few new ones. We were meant to open many more, but obviously COVID had other plans for us. But we've done pretty well to get some going.
How many have you got so far now actually operating, Charlie?
So we originally had one going, which has been running for about two years, and now we have 6. So we introduced 5 from the start of September. So another one. So the Peevers Farm one, and then another one at Woodmanston is our Saturday sessions morning, and then the other 4, they are kind of school centres, so they run as kind of an after school club at various schools. But yeah, Neve and Nicole, so they run the Saturday ones as well. They're very good. I won't put them on the spot at all. You know, I'm sure they wouldn't like that. But yeah.
Do you find there's a difference between the after school ones and the ones that run on a Saturday morning?
I think obviously the ones on the Saturday mornings, you get probably more girls attending, because you know it's a broad range that anyone can come along and attend, whereas at the school ones it's mainly just the school pupils themselves, so you're kind of limited to that regard. But it does have its benefits, because you know you get more interest generated because the school do a lot of it, and you can open it up to more if the interest is quite large and stuff. But you have like kind of a good basis with the school, and then the ones on the weekend are just good because they kind of bring everyone together. So there's a few girls that they attend the school sessions, and then they'll go to the ones at the weekend as well. Okay. So they get a bit of both, still meeting new girls as well and different coaches as well, so just play as much football as they want, really.
What demand did you get for them? Did you get high demand for the new centres? How did you drum up the we've heard from Sienna about getting more girls involved. How did you get them in, as it were? How did you get them interested to attend?
I think the main thing is kind of going into schools, really, and especially just your presence in general, because like we were saying earlier, with the idea of like a female coach and kind of female role models, they kind of look up to you a bit more and kind of can see a bit more of the pathway, and especially if you've got if you can play football as well, and if you just start doing some kick ups or something, they're like, oh yeah, that's so cool, I want to do that. So I do think, yeah, you just kind of going out and kind of seeing the girls in general, because once they see you, I think that's when they get like a bit more, oh, okay, that's a bit more. That's how I found it anyway. I think as soon as I've gone into schools and done an assembly or spoken to a class or something, you always get more girls wanting to try it at least, or there's that interest there.
So do you approach the schools and say, can I come in to do a little presentation about what we're trying to do? Is that what you do?
Yeah. So like, luckily enough, so as part of the foundation, we have a big spreadsheet of all the schools in the various boroughs. So I just contact various schools around, and then don't get responses from all of them, of course, but you will get a good number of responses back. And yeah, especially you do get a lot of schools as well where the provision isn't for girls football isn't there, so they're always keen on getting us in to run that for them as well.
Yeah. So overall, if there's people on the call up tonight, for instance, or people listening who are thinking of setting up a centre or want to expand on what they've already got in terms of trying to attract more players in, what advice would you give them to do that?
I think the key is really just contacting schools. I mean, you can always just go on Google with the website and you just contact schools via their admin and stuff, because as soon as you get a good relationship with a school, they can pass on your flyers, your promotional videos. You can then go in as well, and it's a good base because they can then send out. They already have like a mass email chain they can just send to parents. It's a lot easier. So yeah, I definitely recommend, gaining relationships with schools around the area in which you are delivering Wildcats.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. There is one other thing I wanted to cover off about lockdown, but does the video work yet, Chloe?
Yes, yes. I believe you should now be able to hear the sound.
There you go.
At Palace for Life, we run a range of sessions aimed at getting more girls into sports. One of our sessions is Wildcats. So Wildcats is an opportunity for girls aged 5 to 11 years to explore the game of football in a fun, safe environment. Ultimately, our aim of these sessions is to create a foundation for these young girls to develop a lifelong love of football and sport. To 11 for them just to come along, have some fun, play some football and just make some friends around it.
So I think the main thing about the session is for girls to have fun. And this is what we try to encourage, this is what we try to do. A lot of girls that come here, they've never played football before, they've never touched football. This is more about getting them active, getting them to do sports. And if they can learn a little bit of football on the process, that's amazing. But the most important thing is that they have fun and meet new friends.
Wildcat sessions are really important for those who are beginners. It helps them have a go and maybe start off their football pathway.
Well, we showed us how to dribble. We played some games, and we can have bigger matches next to more fun.
I like that girls can play football and there are no boys here. My favourite part is making friends and playing matches at the end. I would tell them to come because they can make lots of friends here and have fun playing football.
We love Wildcats!
Thank you. I don't know if you managed to hear all that, guys. I got the volume, I got the audio quite well. The camera work was a little bit jerky, I'm afraid, at times.
Yeah, I got the same.
But listen, hopefully, you got the feel for it. I did, before we say goodbye to Charlie, is ask you a little bit about Wildcats during lockdown. Have you considered or have you done any online sessions? How are you keeping in touch with the girls that have been coming to the sessions up to now?
Yeah, so since the second lockdown, I've done some Wildcats online videos, so just little skills, little challenges for girls to do at home. So it's another loads of YouTube series. There's I think about 6 now because we've continued now since January. Yeah, and I also send these, so they're also posted on all our socials at Palace, but then I send them out to the little email chain I have from all of our participants' parents, so they can take part as well. We've had a few videos back as well with kids getting involved, which is nice to see. And I have recently just started, so at one of my school sessions, and then hopefully with a few more as well, doing like a weekly catch-up session. So it's something that the school sets up for me as well. So they invite me to a Zoom session, and yeah, so it's just a little catch-up for us, like a little check-in, also just in terms of their like mental health as well, just to check in how they're doing. But also just we'll do like fun quizzes and just little challenges. So we'll set every week some challenges, and then we'll come back together and we'll all talk about what we've done, and kind of we decide that we're going to do like a skill of the week and stuff, so people are going to get different prizes, because that was a big winner. This week I've got one tomorrow. one of the kids wanted to do a quiz, like game show. They wanted to do the chase. So I've managed to create some sort of presentation that has the chase music in the background and the different ways you have to get rid of the chaser. So hopefully that goes down well tomorrow. But yeah, I think the main thing is just also just like trying to keep them active as well, because I know that as with these sessions as well, I mean, what I'm doing at the moment, they're about half an hour, because I'm very aware that, you know, kids are going to be spending a lot of time on their screens, and I don't really like that. I don't like that either. So kind of just a quick check-in, you know, how's everyone doing, see what challenges everyone's doing, little quiz, little fun, treasure hunt, this kind of things. But yeah, just to kind of take them away from school a bit and kind of, you know, remind them that, you know, they can play football and you've got
some great ideas there. I think if anybody's trying to do that online and trying to keep in touch with their players, I think those ideas are brilliant. It does take a while to put those things together, I have to say. If you're doing that, that's great. Can I just quickly touch on if anybody on the call listening is thinking about doing this and reaching out online to their players, what welfare considerations do they have to think about in terms of permissions from parents and making sure that we're compliant with safeguarding?
Well, obviously, luckily, with the school sessions that I'm doing online, it's because it's gone through the school. As long as the teacher's there on the call as well as me, there's no other forms or anything we need to deal with because the school sets it up. But if once we've done before, where we just set it up ourselves, we do a little consent form. So we send it to the parents beforehand, just so, you know, just little checks and everything, to make sure that they consent to them being there. And what was I going to say? Oh, I've just lost my train of thought. Brilliant.
It's making sure we've got 2 adults here on the call as well. So
that's a big one. You can't be there by yourself. You have to have at least two people there, to make sure, you know, just in case anything goes wrong. Hopefully it won't, but just for your protection as well, safeguarding.
So thanks. I mean, again, if anybody is thinking of doing that, I think those, making sure we got permission, making sure that we're transparent with the parents, we've got their, I know, for instance, when we contacted Sienna, we went through our parents to make sure that they were fully on board and they were understood what we were doing. So it's making sure that that's all above board, really. The last point I just wanted to touch on, and I know you've done this at Palace, I think it's something you worked on, Charlie, yourself, is the materials. Have you produced a little booklet for the Wildcat players to work?
So I've created a little Wildcats booklet at the end of last year. Unfortunately, at the moment, we haven't actually been able to use them because of COVID shutting down some of our sessions. But yeah, so within the booklet, there's just basically little challenges, little like kind of achievements that they can do. So they're called like paw prints. So to gain all their paw prints, you have to do different kind of challenges, even if it's just like make a new friend or, you know, try something this many times. And then there's a bit about, you know, searching about the women's game, about the Lionesses, you know, just so they can gain a bit more information about the women's game as well, not just the men's. And then we also have a bit on well-being. So it's like a 6 kind of worksheets and stuff at the back where it's about resilience, like teamwork, playing the right way, eating healthily, these type of things, you know, just to kind of add to the sessions and kind of touch upon, you know, there's one where it's called being their best possible self. So I think, you know, just kind of these ideas of just writing things down, you know, acknowledging things, because I think sometimes you don't realise that you're doing something. You know, you need to acknowledge, you know, what you're good at, and, you know, recognise that within yourself and ask other people, and kind of gain some confidence, not in yourself, but also whilst playing football as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, I guess what you're doing there is you're really highlighting the fact that Wildcats extends beyond just football and falling in love with football. I mean, we heard from Sienna earlier about her love of football, but that whole concept, I mean, picking out the words about relationships, building up confidence, all those sort of things, I think all these things that clubs can do to actually build that whole environment that will make the players want to come back. And for some, it will be around the football. For others, it will be around the friendships. It'll be about leadership, learning skills, and other things. And I think I've had a look at the material that Charlie's produced, and it's fantastic, because I think what it does is it really, even if I'm not the best footballer, I'm good at other things. And so it's about valuing what I'm good at. And I love it. I think it's brilliant. And I think that's an idea I think that clubs could actually do. You know, whether it's one or two sheets of paper, or whether it's a whole booklet or whatever, it's trying to foster those sort of really positive images for the girls, really, as they're growing up. I think that's wonderful. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for your time. Thank you for that insight into what you've done. I think it's fascinating. Wish you the best of luck in growing it. Hopefully people have sort of got some ideas in terms of what you guys have done at Palace for Life. I think it's really, really good. Thank you. Who's the nominated person from room two?
We didn't get a chance to nominate anyone, to be honest. But I'll say, Samantha, you were really good at, if you don't mind me suggesting, you were very good at kind of concisely putting everything very quickly for the guys to hear.
Thank you, Amira, for appointing me spokesperson. No problem. So yeah, obviously Charlie was in our group that was a big help, and myself and Amira have got a little bit of experience working with different groups, etc. Amira's been working really hard with the Wildcats sessions that she's got set up. But really, in terms of like good practice, what we were saying, it kind of starts from the very start with the coaches. So kind of them arriving 15-20 minutes before the session, making sure the playing area's safe for participants and themselves, making sure the equipment's set up, everything's ready to go for when the participants and the parents do arrive. Just from a personal point of view, I don't think there's anything worse than kind of coaches still setting up whilst parents and participants are arriving, because I think that's the first point of engaging with participants, is when you're standing at the entrance, welcoming them in, kind of smiling, having, you know, a good rapport and build good relationships with them early on. I think that's kind of key to any session, and probably not just to a Wildcat session. So yeah, we kind of said, once you kind of come in, then that's the time where the coaches can really start to form those relationships with participants. And like Charlie was saying, just the games in which you set up, so during the session, just making sure they're inclusive, they're fun, they're engaging. We also talked about potentially having some music on as well. There may be some participants that are taking part for the first time, are feeling a little bit nervous, a little bit anxious of coming in. They might not have any friends during the session, but actually music might be a way of tempting them in. They might kind of just stand on the sideline for 5 minutes, kind of dancing and sing along to the song. So that might be the way of engaging them into the session, is not through football, but through music as well. So I think that was something that our group probably will take away from that as well. And we kind of just said it's really for the love of the game, and, you know, all of those extra things that we were discussing before around, you know, like teamwork, social connections, and really just building new friendship groups within sessions as well. I think it is quite easy for participants to turn up to sessions with friends, but actually, you know, there are participants that turn up that don't have any friends, that may want to make new friends, which may be one of the reasons why they're attending. So kind of getting that teamwork early on, team building kind of sessions, and the music again can really kind of bring kids out of their shell. Yeah, that was what we kind of said really. And then just towards the end of the session, again, kind of interacting with parents if they have any questions, just being available to make sure you're kind of supporting participants and parents as well, because for some of them it might be a new experience as well. They might not have been to football sessions before. It might be the first time they've they've joined in organised sport. So again, just that relationship that the coach can build kind of puts the parents' mind at ease as well. I just think in terms of future sessions, like they're going to kind of be your way forward. Like you want them to recommend their friends to your sessions as well. So those kind of key interactions before and after is quite crucial. If I've missed anything, please feel free to add in anyone in my group.
It was great. It was a great feedback, Sam. Does anybody else want to add anything else in?
I think she got it all, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly. Sorry, I'm muted. I'm just Sam. That's why I picked you. Perfect. Every detail in there.
That was no, that's absolutely brilliant. I mean, I'm as you were saying that, Sam, I was just writing down a few key words that I picked out on. I couldn't agree more. The whole concept of building the rapport, not only with the players but with the parents, I think is really, really critical. And having the time to do that is all about being prepared in advance when they arrive, having a little chat, making sure that the players are comfortable. I think you identified something which is really, really good, which is identifying players that might be a little bit nervous. So how are we going to cope with that? What we're going to do with those players as coaches? You know, are we ready for it? That whole concept of social and friendship and team building, I think these are really key aspects to it. In terms of, and I love the fact you picked up on the departures as well. I have seen, so part of my role was I used to go and visit some Wildcat centres, and I think it's so important when you say goodbye that the children and the parents go away with a nice warm feeling, because it does make them want to come back and bring their friends back. I think that, yeah, what you said there, I think well done. It's absolutely brilliant. I don't know if everybody was in group breakout room 2. If anybody was in breakout room 1. Was anybody in breakout room 1?
Kev, I think our group, I've got a bit confused because we thought we were in group room 2 as well.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't remember having Amir and Sam in the group, so we definitely something went wrong. It might be on our behalf. But whilst we're on this one, I think, like you, Kev, obviously, with the FA mentor and stuff, I had the privilege of going to see the Crystal Palace Foundation one with Neve, and I think Neve and Nicole made it very evident that it was everything based around the involvement and the engagement with the players and the parents to start off with. So it wasn't like Neve and Nicole were one side of the pitch and the players on the other side when they arrived. It was all making them feel welcome. You know, it was high fives when we could, you know, and that safe environment on the arrival, whether it was just giving them a football or telling them to sort of group up with a partner to pass the ball around from the minute they walked in to the minute they left. It was, you know, very sort of, you know, the atmosphere was really good, and I enjoyed it. I was giggling away and wanted to join in. And I think that's important. It's just a case of just sort of having, again, leaving the players and the parents with something to think about for next week. You know, we mentioned about themed sessions that the Wildcats are massively on, and Simon sort of mentioned that he did some Halloween and Christmas fancy dress. Again, and it just goes back to sort of the things that Charlie mentioned, that it's the coach having fun as well. And you guys, you mentioned, Kevin, it's the coach showing that they're having fun. And it almost drives that environment and that enjoyment. If the coach is having it, then the kids will sort of bounce off them as well. And you generally get the parents as well feeling that. And that's where you almost get the buy-in of it being a safe environment. And there's structure. So as I said, you know, when they arrive, you know, bringing them in like the video showed, it was a bit of music, like Sam said, but definitely important to sort of leave them with thinking about what next week going to bring. And the Wildcats give the sort of the journey booklet that you can sort of say to them, look, go home, show it to your friends and join in, tell them to come along with it, and just write what you enjoyed or anything that has them engaged during the week and want to look forward to coming next week is a plus.
Yeah, I think all those points are so relevant. I mean, you mentioned the word environment there, and creating that environment is so important. And how you do it, and it's about having that friendly, open nature, I think really does help. And that is about being prepared. I did write down the word themes. I'm glad you mentioned it. Again, the Wildcats, when they were set up, we were encouraged to get all the centres to have a theme for every week. Now, I know that's not, you know, in practical terms, always easy, but I love the example of the Halloween one. I think that's great. The little clip that you saw at the start of this webinar was we did a Jungle Book theme, that one, hence the music from the Jungle Book. So if you can incorporate themes, that's brilliant. I actually made the mistake just before Christmas of asking the group I was with is what was their favourite film, because I wanted to I was going to do a theme around the film, and they fed back to me it was Frozen 2, and I'd never seen Frozen 2 and I knew nothing about it, so I was a bit stuck on that one. So it was a lesson for me to be prepared, really. But that's the concept, really. Back in my head, I said I wish I had the music for Frozen 2, but I didn't have it with me. So
you let it go, did you?
Oh, very good, very good. Yes.
Someone had to.
Someone. Thank you. And we've got yes. I'm going to just quickly go through a couple of things that, as mentors, we had a job to do sometimes, to go and visit Wildcat centres, and we were given a little form, and I really hate these things, but they are tick box things, but just to give you a flavour of the sort of things that we were asked to look out for, so it gives you an idea of maybe what things that people can think about. So to what extent are the following areas evident in the session? Differentiation. So obviously you're dealing with a 5-year-old, you're dealing with a 10 or 11-year-old, you're dealing with a young player who's just learning how to kick a ball, or you're dealing with somebody like Sienna who can dribble around 5 players. So how are you as coaches able to deal with that? Are we using all the 4 corners? And we've already discussed tonight the importance of that social corner is so relevant, really. Fundamental movements, the whole concept of movements. Again, if you think back to the video clips we had, there were people, albeit they were adults of that particular session, but jumping around, skipping, hopping, dancing, doing cartwheels, all sorts of things. So trying to introduce lots of activity. Individual ball work. So, you know, have they all got a ball? I think, Abs, you just mentioned about when they arrive, giving them a ball each. So making sure that they're actively engaged in the session and being inclusive, really. Giving them passing, it says here passing, but I mean, I think if you're playing little games, they're going to be doing that anyway. Little matches, small matches, maybe just 3v3s. The people who are attending, now I don't know if you've all got this, but I've asked Chloe and Dominic to send out to you the session pack that's been produced for Wildcats. It's got loads of sessions in there. So if you haven't got that, you'll receive that. But again, you'll see the sort of some practical sessions, ideas from that. Interaction with parents is another criteria. A positive learning environment. And last one was smiles, which we've discussed. So I think an awful lot of these things, if you were doing those things, you get ticks in all those boxes. But the important thing is that the players go away and enjoy it, really. A couple of other little things that we had to look for. I mean, I'll zip through my list. I had register of player details. Have you got the contact? This is just, some of this is to do with safety, really, just to make sure as coaches you've got this in your pocket. So register of player details, contact details of the parents or the guardians, who's dropping them off, who's picking them up. I mean, it's never happened to me. I've not heard any stories, but you know, you could get a scenario where mum drops the daughter off, dad comes and picks the daughter up. You didn't know that was going to happen. You didn't know that mum and dad are separated. That could be a problem. So if there are going to be different people picking them up, then it'd be nice for you to be told about it. think just be aware of those sort of things.
Yeah, Kev, I'll just add to that. I had a lot of kids that I actually made it a rule. The kids could not leave me unless their parents are literally tapping me on the shoulder saying, I'm taking her and her. There was a lot of, but my mum said I'm going with so-and-so. And it became a habit where the parent would then tell you at the start, by the way, I'm taking so-and-so. And because of all the madness of the session, I'd always forget at the end, and I'd keep the kids literally glued to me. And you're not going anywhere until your parent. And yeah, but she's only there having a coffee. She's right. I can see her hat. They do everything to try and bargain with you to get away, but it's not even worth the risk. And that's one thing. Just be ready for that. Ready for all the stuff they're going to sell you. They might even give you a bit of gold. That's how conniving they are.
Definitely good practice, and absolutely. You can't be too careful. Basically, other little things. Posters, visibility of the Wildcats. On the front slide, you've got the bibs, you've got the poster. Making sure that they're all set up. When people walk past, they want to see it's a Wildcats centre. So the equipment is safe. We spoke about that. We spoke about the safety checks on the ground and where the girls are actually playing as well. The location. Having a first aid kit handy. That's also important. And one little recommendation for me is if you're dealing with young players, if you can, and you can bring little goals with little nets, brilliant, do that, because children love kicking the ball into a goal with a net. I know it's not always possible when you're playing out on AstroTurf, and if we don't have all that always, but if you can do it, I definitely recommend it. Okay, I don't think we're going to have an answer, but what should the pathway for Wildcat players be? Where do we go after they reach 11? Have you guys got any views as to what should happen, what the challenges that we face?
I think that there should be a similar kind of thing to Wildcats for 11 plus. I know we have like kicks and things like that, but I feel like Wildcats is slightly different to kicks because it just kind of has that kind of base of you just come to have fun, and it's not real. I don't know. It's just a bit more of a community type thing. And I think when I always have parents come up to me when there's girls, they're like 11 going on 12, and they don't really want to join a team, or they're not really looking for that. They just want to continue what they're doing now, and I feel like that should definitely be an option, because a lot of girls, when they get to 11 secondary school, they start falling off a bit. And I think with Wildcats as well, I think it's a bigger kind of session or program than potentially girls kicks. Well, that's what I feel at our foundation anyway. I think our Wildcats program is a lot bigger, and I think there should be
before. What's that?
Oh, kicks.
Yeah.
It's the Premier League kicks program. It's like a community sessions, so it depends on what kind of sessions you want to run. But very similar things. I think each foundation is different of what you want to run. I mean, we at Palace, one of our coaches runs a girls only kick session, and it's only started to pick up in numbers recently, and it wasn't doing as well, but it kind of just acts as a similar thing. Depends on the kind of what your outcomes are and aims from each program, but it's Premier League funded.
I think it's a real challenge, isn't it?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. It's fine.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say, Charlie, these are old. Just so I've got this right, the Kicks program is older groups, older age range, and it's kind of predominantly those in hard to reach areas. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's a better way of saying it. Yeah.
I'm happy to jump in slightly there. Obviously, I'm at Fulham Foundation. We run similar sessions for girls only, and I think some of the areas that we work in are obviously deprived areas as well. And I think the Premier League Kicks program not only focuses on giving opportunities to girls from 11 to 19, but also offering them other pathways such as qualifications and workshops as well. Like at the moment, we've got some of our girls taking part in the FA Playmaker course, which they've successfully done. Some of them want to do their level 1 coaching qualification. It offers volunteering opportunities as well. So I think the whole Kicks program's fantastic, not only just to kind of get girls playing, the ones that don't want to join teams, but it also offers a lot more in terms of like social interaction and providing other opportunities for them as well. I guess the Wildcats program is just focused on the young ones, but I agree for those participants that maybe don't live near a Kicks project, then yeah, I think there probably could be something that's kind of run in between.
Yeah, as well. Samantha, do you so with your Kicks programs, do you get a lot of intake from like say like 11 to 13, or is it mainly older ones?
We've got a few of the younger age range, but a lot of our Kicks participants now are kind of between 14 and 18. But I guess they've been on our program for 2 or 3 years already, so they were at that age at one point. But one thing that our Kicks program allows is not only a community session, but we run those as after school sessions in secondary schools as well. So we kind of target schools that are close to our community hub venues, and that's kind of like the feeder then into the session. So yeah, we haven't got too many of the younger age group, but I guess it's slowly about, again, breaking down those barriers and girls feeling comfortable to join, whether you're 11 or whether you're 17 or 18.
Is the feeling then that we really do need to be looking at something Wildcats for 11 to what, 15, 16? What would you say?
I mean, I personally think so when we run holiday programs, we open it up. So we don't do really little ones, but we do it from 7 to 14 because we think that's a good kind of age range. Obviously, the group is split up, but I feel in terms of like you get the girls that just want to play football for fun. I think yes, you have the Kicks program, but I do think the Kicks program targets more of the older children. So I reckon there should be some sort of like Wildcats Plus session, so like 11 to 13, potentially 14. Because when we have our holiday courses, we do get a lot of girls that are, year 7, year 8 age as well. So I think there's definitely a demand for that market.
I think there's a danger in maybe losing a few of the girls. Like I think someone said earlier on, in terms of not everyone wants to join the team. We're joined up to our local team. They can go and join the under 10, under 11s, under 12s, whatever it may be. But that isn't offering the same kind of thing that Wildcats offers. Going to weekly training. It becomes it's a different, I suppose, way of running and enjoying football at that point. But then you're learning more things like how to play with a team and tactics and things like that. But you're not getting everything that you got from Wildcats, I think. So there is a danger of losing, I think, girls at that point.
Yeah. Can I just add to that? Actually, I've had 2 girls, very fitting to that point, that have actually joined joined a team within Met Police. But they still come to my Saturday Wildcat sessions, and the club has said they really shouldn't be coming along with you, but nowhere is there any rule there that says that they can't continue, and they choose, they come and they pay as you go, and the club are happy to take the money. I feel a little bit guilty because I have to obviously divide my attention between a bunch of smaller kids that obviously want my attention all the time, and then I've got these 2 or 3 older girls that I want to kind of and I don't have spare coaches to be able to kind of juggle that all. So there is that as well, which is something I totally didn't even expect to happen, that where the kids they bonded with that coach so well in the whole kind of Wildcats environment, and they're just not ready to let that go. And I think it would be kind of, I feel it unfair for us to say, no, sorry, you're at the age cut-off point, so you're not coming anymore. I always keep my sessions open.
It definitely sounds like there is a need there. I think that's a message we can take away from this. There definitely does appear to be a gap after. So I've written down Wildcat Teens or Teen Wildcats. Something, Charlie, I think you mentioned Wildcats Plus. I think there needs to be a name around it, but to have that same concept. I think that's the message I'm picking up, really. That because otherwise you're going from Wildcats for a young girl, 11 years old. They may not want to go into a team environment. It is a different environment. They may not want to have that. They may want to still, we've already identified tonight the values of Wildcats is beyond football as well, just beyond that. So maybe we that is a message that I think we can feed back.
I think this is, Kevin, just on that point, there's also entry level girls at that stage, that it's not necessarily a progression on from Wildcats at that age group. It's still people that are brand new to the game,
Great point, Simon. Yeah, brilliant point. Yeah,
I would love that.
On that, I think
that back, if we could have even just what you've said there, if it's called Wildcat Plus, I'd love to get involved in that. The amount of girls that I've seen come through, exactly what you said, just not ready to play, but because there's nothing else there for them, that grey area means that they force themselves into a team, but they still don't feel kind of psychologically ready to play and be in that environment. So they come back to me every Saturday, and I'm kind of almost treating them, kind of as with the younger ages, they like that kind of extra care. And so that'd be great if there was any opportunity for them to think about a campaign just for that group. I think it would be massive. I think it would be huge.
I think again, it's almost
just like on that point as well.
Oh, go on.
No, go.
No, I was just going to say, I think it's almost close to some kind of recreational session for teenagers that we're potentially looking at. I think if you look at the drop-off ages of when girls go to secondary school, that's kind of where you lose them, and ultimately trying to keep them engaged in physical activity, not specifically anything in general. It's all about again kind of building those relationships and building those life skills and communication, etc. So I think some kind of recreational session that would support these teenage girls through a stage where they're still potentially coming into the game or learning about the game, as opposed to kind of being shipped off to a team that they may not feel comfortable in doing. Again, especially teenage girls going through, we've got some girls in our kicks program that actually are very, very able, but due to anxiety of new situations, new environments, don't want to put themselves in that scenario. And I think, Amira, that's almost like what you're saying, but they would rather come to a group where the girls are younger, but they're very comfortable and they know you, and it's a very nice place for them to be, in comparison to going into a team where that is completely brand new and not feeling comfortable in that environment. So I think some kind of recreational session for teenagers would be really good.
I would I'd be willing to kind of move myself into that area just to help these kids that just need that extra support, but they don't fit into any category, don't fit into kicks, don't fit into disability, don't fit. So that'd be amazing if there was something we could look at.
Do you want to say something? I think I was trying to say something.
No, all good now.
You're good.
What I was going to say, started out nicely earlier on. I think that, you've got, I don't know how many, maybe 13, 14 on this chat, and we're all trying to sort of achieve one thing, which is trying to encourage more girls to play football. I think, why can't we have an intra Wildcats sort of session where Amira may bring 3 or 4 of her older players that don't necessarily want to play in a girls team over to my centre or someone else's centre, and we've got to remember that we're trying to encourage more coaches. So we may have volunteers or coaches that are on their level 1 to go with those group of girls to actually go and attend a session that Amira's running. And it's alleviating that competitive side of it, but you're also interacting with other girls, so you're then also opening up and broadening up their horizon to new girls that they may not know. So eventually they'll be able, especially the entry level girls, where it's like we're going to celebrate, I don't know, Christmas, where we go to different centres and we see how that centre does it and what good practice looks like in different centres. At the same time, I may play against 4 of Amira's girls that are 11 years old, and it's just basically saying it's these different games, but you're still being competitive. So it's building that competitive side to them without them sort of realising. And I bet ultimately that's what the Wildcats is to celebrate you know, encouraging more female players. So I think that would be a great way of doing it, where we're not focusing on the ones that don't want to be competitive and playing teams, where you have an intra-Wildcats league, ultimately. And it might be different themes. So Mira or Sam, whoever it is, might say, oh, Abs, this week we're doing a Frozen thing. We've got to do these different challenges. We get points. So it's different, you know, Premier League fantasy. You have different sessions, and whoever's achieved a certain amount of points will get, Surrey FA will give them extra funding. And so, or just anything, you know, equipment, or just something that it's like, well done, guys. We don't want to make it competitive, but at the same time, it's just having that recognition. Again, and if we're making noise and want to encourage it, the only way we're going to be like, you know, and that's the way we get parents saying, oh, did you hear what they're doing? They're doing this and they're doing that. It's a great idea. It's just building that up as well.
No, thanks.
Or even if can I just add to that, even if logistically, if moving around to different Wildcat centres was difficult, just a tournament maybe held at a central point at Meadowbank, led by Chloe, Kev, whoever, just a Wildcats tournament. Because one thing I remember, that's been said to me constantly is parents saying, when are they going to play a game? When are they going to do? So for us to have if we could have something where there was a Wildcats themed tournament and every team turns up as their own theme or whatever, maybe that would just be easier than kind of moving around to different venues initially, just seeing how the tournament goes and bringing everyone together on that one day, one morning, one afternoon, in at Surrey FA HQ on your beautiful pitch.
Guys, I'm just thank you. I think the ideas that you've thrown in there, I think were brilliant, and I think the fact that Chloe's going to take these away and air them, I think is perfect. I think this discussion is going to grow. I think this is hopefully the ball rolling. I think it's certainly going to be worth exploring in more depth, and I think what we've done tonight really is hopefully open the door at least. So Chloe, yeah, if you are going to take those things away and if it's going to get discussed, I'm sure all of us on the call here tonight would like to get updates, whether it's through the newsletter or directly, however you want to do it. But I think it would be great to get some feedback as to how that's progressing, because certainly from the conversations I've had, and it's evident tonight, that there is clearly a demand for something beyond Wildcats as well. I think Wildcats has been a great success in a number of different ways, and I think it's ripe to grow really as well. But, guys, I've kept you so long already. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your contributions.